So I've been running for 12 years now, which pretty much makes me a veteran at the sport. And over the years, there's been a lot of ups and downs and sideways and all over the place. And so I wanted to cover some of those things today and kind of just talk about my running story in its entirety, as much as I can fit into a 10-minute video. There's gonna be a lot of stuff that isn't covered, but if you have any questions, drop them down in the comments below. We'll go over that. But without further ado, let's get into this video. Let's start back in 3rd grade. So in 3rd grade, I started swimming, and my running story actually kind of starts in the pool. I started swimming, and that was my first taste of endurance sports. So that type of competition is something I really enjoyed, and I eventually ended up becoming a runner because I hated the pool. And I found out I was good at running in PE class, and then my mom said, hey, you want to come run a community 5K event? I placed 3rd in the community 5K, and I realized, okay, maybe I'm pretty decent at this thing. So from there, I joined the 6th grade cross country team, which is something that we had the luxury of having at my school. And the PE teacher was actually the one that hosted it. And so I ran the 6th grade cross country for a year, found out I was pretty fast compared to my peers, and kind of just kept running. 7th grade year, I ran my first middle school season, and I ran 4 middle school races, and then I actually ended up getting moved up to varsity. I ended up being the fastest guy on varsity that year, and it was just kind of like this experience of like, oh wow, well maybe I'm pretty good at this whole running thing. So eventually 8th grade year comes around, and I actually taken the spring off because I was playing baseball, and so I took a bunch of time off from November all the way to the summer leading into my 8th grade year, and I went out to race at the beginning of August, and I ran like garbage. I had a terrible race, and I ran like 1940 in the 5K, and so compared to my years past, it felt like I was just moving backwards, and I didn't really like that. And so I started working harder and started realizing that consistency was key, and just kept pushing forward, and eventually raced myself into shape where I ended up running 17:35 that season. Which 17:35 as an 8th grader, I felt like that was pretty good, and I felt like I was trending in the right direction, which was awesome. So my 8th grade year, I was still playing baseball, and I actually had a hernia surgery, and so I was out for 6 weeks with this surgery and ended up quitting baseball. And my coach, who was the cross country coach and the track coach, said, hey, you should come run track. So I said, okay, whatever, I'll come run track. He said, yeah, we need somebody in the 4x8, you'll go to state, and it's gonna be awesome. So I went out and I trained for about 2 weeks, and I ended up running 2:25 for my 800 leg. And like we went to a small private 1A school, and so it was kind of, it didn't take a whole lot to qualify and make it to state. The following week we actually qualified for like the division, and then we qualified North Half and then state, and then we made it to state, and I ended up running 2:12 for my leg at the 800 that year in the 4x8. And I was like, okay, I think that was the fastest leg that anybody on the team had run. I was like, dang, this is awesome. I might like track. And at the time, I didn't really like track. I didn't like the idea of running around in circles instead of running out on trails. But as I found out I was better at it, I said, oh, this is kind of fun. In my 9th grade year, my freshman year, I ran consistent 17s in the 5Ks and kind of carried that momentum all the way into a full track season where I had success there. So we fast forward to my 10th grade year, and during my 10th grade year in that season, I ended up passing out at the state meet. I had heat exhaustion. I just read a book actually about running. I read Born to Run, which I don't remember who, Chris McDougall or somebody, some dude wrote it, and I don't remember who he was, but I read the book and I got super hyped up about running, and I said, okay, if I start hurting at all in this race, I'm just gonna keep pushing harder. And so it was a hot day, I pushed harder, I split the 2-mile faster than I ever split in my life, and I realized pretty quickly that I was not feeling great, and so I kept pushing harder, and then ultimately my body just gave out on me at 2.5 miles, and I passed out on the side of the course. The team still won the state championship that year, but I knew that I had more to give, and so that after that race, I made the promise to myself that I was going to come back next cross country season to be the strongest version of myself that I could possibly be. So I came back that next cross country season. I trained really hard, realized the value of consistency in training, realized the value of kind of running easy miles in the summer and then progressively getting more intense throughout the season in training, and ultimately ended up running 16:33 at the state meet, which got me Gatorade Player of the Year, fastest runner in the state of Mississippi. And I was super excited about that. And it wasn't a super fast time, but at the time it was just a big accomplishment for me because it was this comeback from, okay, I didn't finish 10th grade year, and now I was able to overcome that and just through hard work and consistency grow as an athlete, as a runner, which set me up for success for my senior year, which is where I ended up running 16:02 in the 5K. I actually ran 15:29 on a short course, but we don't count that. So I ran 16:02 at the state course in the 5K. That's what I count as my PR from high school. Whenever people ask how fast I was, I'm usually like, oh yeah, 16:02. And I carried that momentum on all the way into indoor season. And in indoor season, I ran 4:21 in the 1600. Was ready to take on outdoor. Then COVID hit, knocked out the whole season. And in that fall, I'd committed to Mississippi College. And I knew that Mississippi College was the place where I wanted to go. I liked the coach, I liked the team, I liked the atmosphere, I liked everything that the college had to offer. It was good academically. My friend Ryan, who I was teammates with a while back, he went here, and I was like, yeah, this is gonna be a good spot for me. Try to let my hair down. I got them dreads swinging around. Cause bitch, I let my hair down. Throughout that first freshman year, I ended up getting injured. I started lifting weights, and we lifted a lot of weights here. I never lifted weights in high school, and so it was just kind of this transition that was tough on me, tough on my body, and my hamstrings ended up getting tight, and I had IT band issues. And because of the IT band issues, I couldn't race at conference, and I was devastated. It was the first real injury setback I'd had. And I was like, okay, I gotta come back from this somehow. And then my Achilles flared up that season too. So I was out all the way from the end of cross country season to the end of outdoor season, where I only ran a couple races. I redshirted, and I remember in those races that I ran at the end of track season, I loved that feeling of just the lactic acid, the burn, everything that involved running on the track. And I said, yeah, we gotta keep moving forward. And so that summer I started training really hard, started focusing in on consistent training, higher mileage, and I really felt like I was gonna be set up for success.
How was it throughout?
Ultimately, it didn't end up like that, and I didn't have a great season. I was a little bit off mentally, and I was just still trying to navigate the hardships of what had happened. I guess the year before in cross country, I was kind of scared, and I just had to be cautious, and it just wasn't a great season for me. So then my sophomore year, I had a breakout season in the 1500 for track season, and I ran 3:51, which was faster than anything I'd ever run before. I was super hyped about it, and I was the fourth guy on the team, so we had a good national ranking, and it was like, man, I feel like I'm contributing to something. I feel like I'm getting better at this sport. And I carried that energy all the way. It's just this constant okay, you build up this momentum and you carry the momentum into the next season and the next stage and the next stage. And so I carried the momentum that I had in track season on into the summer of training. Going into my junior year, I bought a house with a bunch of friends. We went out to Virginia. We rented this house on Airbnb, and we just lived in Lynchburg, Virginia, right outside of Lynchburg, Virginia, and just trained all summer. I made a bunch of YouTube videos, and it was awesome. It was such a good time, and ended up coming back that season. I just kind of expected it to just kind of flow for me, to be easy, and I worked really hard over the summer, and I think I worked too hard to the point where I got burnout. And then throughout the season, I just kind of didn't have the mental energy to really do a whole lot. And then at the end of the season, this was this past year, at the end of that cross-country season, I ended up getting the flu, and I was just completely out and just felt like garbage. And I was almost just like a rock bottom.
Trying to learn from it. Definitely ready for track season, ready to get some shorter races in. I feel like that's where I thrive usually. But the team did incredible. Placed 12th, highest placement out of the South region.
That's the key thing you'll see throughout my entire running story is this momentum. Now, if this momentum gets lost, then what ends up happening is I have to build up the momentum again somehow. And so the way that I built this momentum back up was by starting a clothing brand, by really investing into building strong habits. And with these strong habits, I was able to grow as a person, as an athlete, and mentally get stronger and stronger and stronger, which I carried that energy on into the track season, and that track season ended up being one of my most successful seasons to date, very consistent. And then I moved out to Boulder, Colorado, worked with 10 Man Elite, and that was a great experience. Built up a ton of mileage over the summer, and I felt incredibly strong coming back in. Mentally, I was ready, but then physically, right now, what I'm dealing with is an injury, and I'm out. So kind of sucks, but I'm trying to battle through that, and it's just this way of, okay, I have to take this downtime, lose a little bit of momentum, and then as I build back into indoor and outdoor season, I'm gonna have that momentum back, and I'm gonna start building that momentum back up so I can be successful on the track, as successful as I possibly can be in the long term. If you guys got any questions about some of the setbacks I faced, drop them down in the comments below. I'll be answering those, and I definitely couldn't touch on everything that I talked about here, but I just kind of want to open up the comments, and you guys can drop some comments, and please drop a like on this video too while you're at it. It really helps the channel grow. Maybe subscribe, share it with a friend. Yeah. So thanks for watching. See you guys next time.